Warning, the following 8-bit mid-month kung fu fight ending flick is for mature as well as immature audiences as well. Viewer discretions have been advised. The following footage takes place after the new Game Plus Alpha Edition of the Indy Radio Arcade.
All right, boys, that's a wrap. 9 years in the books. Woo! Man, I love this show. But, what was that, Carl in the Maestro? Why in the world was I speaking with a regal accent during the King's Royale True Video Game Stories? Well, you have to speak with a regal accent and with the King's English if you're discussing video game stories of that sort. You know, you can't have just a regular accent and just go, welcome to the True Video Game Stories or the King's Royale Video Game Stories. You have to put a little bit of flair on it and just go, welcome to the King Royale's Video Game Stories. You know what? I got a feeling that for next week's show, I might just go all regal with it. Just as from out of nowhere, just go, for the next game we have up is our big one. Yeah, that'll never work. Wait, are you recording? No. That's not going to kick off next week's show. You better not put that out. I swear to you, if that's on the opening part of the show, I'm definitely going to make sure that you pay for it. You were recording, weren't you? Whatever. Just switch to...
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, live from Morristown, New Jersey, it is the level 215 edition of the Indy Radio Arcade. And now here's your host, a man who let the tea get to his head one too many times, DJ Smokey. Hey, I was doing those English accents before I started drinking tea, so leave me alone. But besides all that, folks, welcome to the Indy Radio Arcade Level 215 edition. I am your game show host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey. And we've got plenty of that 8-bit goodness to bring your fight-tastic month to a high note. Because we kick things off with a very special jail cell fighting edition of the 3MR. And as a bit of a heads up, this one features Jean-Claude Van Damme and Lawrence Taylor. Nice! Then we go from the silver screen prison directly into an 8-bit one for a very special edition of the Instant Classic Video Game Review. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, I should have said 8-bit Prison Trilogy Game Edition of the Instant Classic Video Game Review. It's a trilogy game? Huh, who knew? Also, besides that, we put your high scores on high display along with some indie games along the way for another edition of the Indy Wall of Fame. Then finally, last but not least, we wrap up this show with yet another edition of the $64,000 question. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, it may or may not involve a prison fight depending on my mood. Hey, you were the one who wrote it this week. Don't pin that on me. Don't pin that on me. And I guess with Carl and the Maestro rolling the machines, I might as well tell everybody at home to get out their pennies, quarters, nickels, dimes, Albania money, or whatever sort of coins you believe that can help you get an extra life in a month filled with fights. Because it's time for us to get ready to play a very special mid-month 8-bit fight-tastic edition of the Indy Radio Arcade. It's time to play the game, kids. Alright, all you moviegoers out there, welcome back to the Indy Radio Arcade. And now it's time for us to go into another Film 10 Reel edition of the 3MR. And the movie we have up on the plate for this week is the 2003 film of In Hell. And according to Carl and the Maestro, wouldn't it technically be hell in a cell since they're in prison? Oh, we got jokes this week. Yeah, you're right. Actually, no, you are right. That's funny. But this movie is no laughing matter, folks, because the meat and potatoes of this said film would feature none other than Kyle LeBlanc, who was trying to go home to his wife, only to realize his wife was brutally murdered, and after the killer would get off, he would decide to take out the killer with his own hands and causing him to go to a Russian prison for the rest of his life. Yeah. Like I said, the movie's no joke. And with those meat and potatoes out of the way, folks, what did I love about this said film? Well, for one, how the film started, because for those who don't know, and not to spoil much about this film, he actually shot the guy in the courthouse after taking out his wife and he got off. That was insane to see. Another thing that I loved about this film would have to be the people that was featured during it, and boy oh boy, an all-star cast. Because not only you would have Robert Lizardo, better known as the guy who haunted the Troy McNamara business in Nip Tuck, but also featured as Miles in American Trash, and Carl and Maestro said Nip Tuck he was Escobar for 10 episodes, but played Grim in Death Race, as well as playing Emilio in The Mule, and was even featured in a movie which featured the T-1000 known as Autopsy. He was one of the doctors, or prisoners. According to Carl and the Maestro, it might be a mix between the two. Next up on the plate, folks, you have none other than the legendary football player himself, Lawrence Taylor, who was not only featured in the 1999 film of Any Given Sunday, but was also featured in The Waterboy and was Prisoner 451 in the said film of In Hell. And one thing I didn't know about him is that he played BJ Smith in the video game of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And I've been saying for years, folks, that that game had an all-star cast, and this proves it. And then you have none other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now, for those who don't know, he was in, as we mentioned before, Kurt Sloan in Kickboxer, Colonel Guile in Street Fighter, Jack Quinn in Double Team, Alex in Double Impact, and was even Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 1, as well as being a part of Kill 'Em All as Philip in 2017, and would be Master Duran, featured in the classic film of Kickboxer Vengeance. Yeah. And also outside of that was also Deacon Lyle in A Pound of Flesh. And of course was also the Wolf, featured in, I do believe, The Expendables 2. And Carl and the Maestro said, yep, he was in the second one. Next up on the plate, you have none other than Lloyd Batista. Nice name, by the way, who would not only be Don Francisco in Love and Death in 1975, would also be Nemo in Chisholm in 1970, as well as being a writer, a part of The Treasure of the Four Crowns, even the Fayette Boss in Drive Me Crazy in 91. and would play none other than General Hushkov in Hell in 2003. Next up on the plate after that, you also have none other than Carlos Gomez, who would not only play Rafael Gracia in the 2020 series of The Baker and the Beauty for 9 episodes, but would even be Jose Mendez for 6 episodes in Law and Order True Crime, as well as being none other than the right hand in the 1995 classic film of Desperado. And Carlo the Maestro said I almost forgot to mention he played Carlos Sanchez in The Glades for 49 episodes. Yeah, you're right. But during this film, he would play Tolik. Nice. Then next up, you have none other than Chris Moyer, who would not only play Billy, a part of the movie In Hell, but would also play Jake Anderson in the movie Cut in 2014, as well as playing Rob in The Hatchet Man in 2003, and would even be a part of the said film of Will to Power as Jason Miller. Not bad. Next up after that, you have none other than Manol Malgunov, hopefully we said that last name right, who would not only be a part of The Black Dahlia in 2006, A Shark in Venice in 2008, Cult of Fury as a cameraman in 2003, even an Alien Hunter cameraman in 2003 as well too. But according to Carlo the Maestro, was also a grip, a part of the movie Control. And I find a little bit of irony in there, but during this film, he would play none other than Ivan. Next up after that, you have none other than Billy Reich, who would not only play Ellis DeVoe for 2 episodes of NYPD Blue, Paco Vamp in 1 episode of the TV series of Angel, but would also play Cool Hand in Hell in 2003, as well as playing a serial killer in Eavesdropper in 2004. Not bad. Carlo the Maestro said we can mention one more person, and the last person we have up with a name that is absolutely awesome, none other than Kaloyan Vanderkikov, hopefully we said that last name right, would not only be a stuntman featured in World War Z in 2013, a stuntman in No Time to Die in 2021, even a stuntman in Theory, as well as stuntman in the said film of Mission Impossible Rogue One. And according to Carlo the Maestro, would also be a stuntman in the said film of Land of Dreams. Not bad at all. Now, one of my favorite films during, or should I say, one of my favorite scenes during this said film would have to be the scene when Van Damme, who would finally not give a Van Damme when he was in prison, forced to fight against one of the prisoners and decided to take a chunk out of the guy's neck before screaming like a wild animal, truly showing that they broke him. And boy, did they ever break him. Much to the chagrin of Lawrence Taylor during the film, who just shook his head and just walked off. And seeing the fact that we don't know how to review films along the lines of Siskel and Ebert or any of those other famous movie reviewers you know of out there, we say this. If you guys want to go ahead and watch a film that features a guy who lost everything and started to lose himself while inside of a prison in Russia, only to somehow find friends and himself in the process, then I recommend you go out there and watch that flick. And trust me, folks, definitely a good one. It really is. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more of the Indie Radio Arcade right after a word from our sponsors. So don't hit pause on those controllers just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Greetings and salutations, good people. This is Sarsaparilla Mike here with the return of the Indy Radio Arcade. Now, if you're wondering where DJ Smokey went, he went off to go tussle with a sandwich, so he might be a while, so I decided to take the reins for this part of the show known as the Instant Classic Video Game Review. Now, the game up on the plate this week, ladies and germs, will be none other than Hard Time 3. Now, it says here on the notes that was given to me by Carl and Maestro that this is a trilogy game, and it's a game where, well, he said explain it in the meat and potatoes. Meat and potatoes? That don't go good with sarsaparilla. I would like more or less the pudding and rice. Yeah, you know what? I agree. The pudding and rice. Well, folks, and I guess Carl and the Maestro, you can hit the music. The pudding and rice for this game would be that you play as insert prisoner name and number here as you try to survive a month in jail trying to figure out who put you there in the first place. Yep. Not only you're stuck in there, but you're stuck in there with a mystery. Never thought I'd see such a thing. Now, according to Carl and the Maestro and the notes they left here just in case DJ Smokey went tussling with a sandwich, a couple of the favorite things that he loved about this game would have to be the fact that all of the moves and craziness of the world of M. Dickey is all featured in this game. And along with those crazy moves from suplexes to crossroads to vertebreakers, all those crazy moves you usually hear DJ Smokey talk about during all those great moments in wrestling history. You know, I love that part of the show. You know, I wish I heard that more often, but you know, hey, that's DJ Smokey's priorities. Another thing that he loved about the game would have to be all of the weapons you got a chance to use during it. And oh boy, there was a lot of them. From flamethrowers, to crossbows, to rifles, to guns, to just everything you could imagine, even a slingshot. Yeah, I remember having a slingshot when I was 13 years old. Used to scare cats out of the tree with them. Till my mama told me to stop, and I did. But it only took 4 times after that. Another thing he says here that he likes is the fact that you get a chance to be an officer of the law yourself. Well, I'll be. A chance to be an officer of the law and try to uphold the law. I like it. Another thing that he loved about this game would have to be also the open world environment you get a chance to go through at any time you want. And oh, he said as a special note on the bottom that the cars he loved too. Yep, there's vehicles in this game you get a chance to ride, which is always a fun thing in Sarsaparilla Mike's world. Now, for the things that he didn't like about this game, he would say that the fact that you can't give yourself your own prison term in this game is one thing he was not a fan of. Now, in the original games, for those who didn't remember, you get a chance to have a little list of different things you could give yourself for a prison term to decide how long it takes for you to get out, but not in this game. Not until you unlock the editor, and not until you're able to survive your original prison term. One thing DJ Smokey forgot to mention during the things he didn't like. Another thing he said he didn't like about the game would have to be the sheer chaos, which is a double-edged sword that happens to you in the game. Because one minute you're trying to make your way back to your cell, next thing you're in the infirmary, clinging alive. And it's happened to him more than once. I would have to agree, I was there when I saw it. Drinking a sarsaparilla, just enjoying life. Now, a couple of things he wished you could improve upon the game. Not much. Even though they gave you a chance to play alongside with your friends, and a chance for you to actually earn a chance to be a police officer or live a normal life outside of the prison, He said he didn't think much needed to be changed about the game, but one thing that he wished that could have been added was a way to work on your said agility and cardio while you're in prison. But unfortunately, when you try to do that, they say you try to escape. Look, I've been there before. Now, seeing the fact that DJ Smokin' don't review any of these games with gold stars, coins, letters, bricks, or any of those other fancy trinkets that you would usually have in your pocket before you put your clothes in the dryer, he review games in only two ways. Will there be a video game store in the near future for this here game? And does he recommend this game for you, the gamer, at home that's looking to escape out of a small cell using a big spoon? That made me laugh a little bit when they wrote that on the paper. Now, DJ Smokey, I don't, particularly know when he plans these video game stores, but I got a feeling after what I saw with him, with the shovel and a rocket, I got a feeling the video game store might be right around the corner, knowing his crazy antics, probably around the month of March. What month is that? Apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro over in the corner being so kind to inform me, that's the month of madness. Appropriate. Now, does Sarsaparilla Mike recommend you play this game at home? Well, if you want to play a game that allows you to go inside of a prison filled with the craziest people you've ever met in your life that is nuttier than a pet coon or crazier than a cat trying to chase a red light in the middle of the night and crash into the wall multitude of times, only for you to somehow make your way out and try to run that same asylum, then I recommend you go out there, get your hands on that disc or that download or whatever sort of thing you can get it on and play it. Because trust me, from what I've seen, hours of fun, hours of laughs, and hours of just strange shenanigans that can't properly be displayed and explained on a microphone. And I guess with that said, folks, that's my review of this game. First one I've ever done, and I'm sticking to it. So until next time, until DJ Smokey learns how to not tussle with a sandwich on a live microphone, I'm Sarsaparilla Mike saying, as always, till next time, the sarsaparillas are on me. All right, all you kings and queens and leaderboards out there, welcome back to the Indy Radio Arcade. And three things. First off, really wish they would have come up with a sequel for the film of In Hell, even though Carl and Maestro said that would have been impossible. Secondly, why in the world you guys let Sarsaparilla Mike do the video game review for Hard Time 3? I've been waiting to do that for 2 weeks now. And thirdly, for those who are wondering out there, I was not tussling with a sandwich. I was clearing out snow. It's snowing currently here in Music Village headquarters, and I needed to clear that out. But besides clearing the snow out and clearing the air after Sarsaparilla Mike took the mic, I think it's time for us to go ahead and check out some games from the Steam machine and put your high scores on high display alike for another edition of the Indy Wall of Fame. They even screwed up the intro for that because of you guys. But nevertheless, folks, the first game that we have up comes from the developers Come Play Games with their set game of Transcontinental. And this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say Jonah Hex for some strange reason. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game, and Carl and the Maestro said, no, you cannot ride the train. Well, you don't know that. I mean, I see a train right there. You're in the back of one. There's a high possibility that you can fix up the train and get out of that horrifying place.
And apparently, according to Carl and Maestro with the ghost haunting it, I highly doubt you'll be able to get that done. Well, if I'm quick enough, I could. You know what? I'll leave it alone. Besides Carl and the Maestro killing my dreams of riding trains, and speaking of them, the next game that we have up comes from the developers California Studios, nice developer name by the way, with their set game of Iron Roads. And this game automatically reminds me of Railway Empire in 2D. And here's hoping in the near future for the set game that not only you get a chance to upgrade your trains to go along with the times, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to maintenance the tracks as well too, to accommodate the new lines. Cause I got a feeling when you switch from steam engine to electric, you might want to try to fix the tracks up, and here's hoping there's a chance you can. Cause an electric train riding on old tracks spells a recipe for disaster no matter which way you look at it. And yes, Carl and the Maestro, I'm talking about the incident that happened to me in Train Simulator 2002. Yeah, I'll never do that again. Let's just say it led to a derailment that the train actually flew up into the air and started doing a death spiral. I'll just leave it at that. But besides a horrible train-like incident that I didn't want to think about or mention, the next game that we have up comes from the developers, I think not M8, with their set game of 10 Seconds. And this game automatically reminds me of, I would have to say one of those sci-fi original films where you're stuck in a room with a monster. That's the only thing I could think of. And here's hoping in the near future, speaking of being stuck in a room with a giant monster, there's a high possibility that you could get a chance to try to fight it or find a secret compartment in less than 10 seconds that helps you get out of there from that Markland Bees. And according to Carl and the Maestro, good luck finding that in 10 seconds. I can do a lot of quick things in 10 seconds, like figuring my way out of a room, so yeah. Ball's in your court, buddy. But besides the game that I got a feeling it's gonna be on a Sci-Fi Channel version of Double Dare in the near future, the next game that we have up comes from the developers Alone Dreamer with their set game of Lurking Within. And this game automatically reminds me of Silent Hill. Yep. Anytime I see a door with 9,000 chains on it like Hellraiser, yep, definitely reminds me of Silent Hill. And here's hoping in the near future for this set game that you have some form of thing to help you fight against whatever sort of Markland Bees is going to try to take you out in this game. Which apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, might involve a woman with a hospital outfit on. See what I mean about Silent Hill? I told you. And the last but not least game that we have up for this week that hopefully involves no form of Markland beasts or crazy creatures trying to take you to another dimension comes from none other than the developers Cold Wolf Games with their set game of Dog Walking Adventures. And this game automatically reminds me of a what-if scenario of Nintendogs if it was in 3D. You know, from the perspective of the owner and the dog, where you're not poking at a screen to make sure the dog doesn't go tinkle over in the corner for you to clean up. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to actually get some new items for your said dog to take care of it, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to pick your own dogs as well too, and name them. And apparently, according to Carl and Maestro, why yes, you can name the dog, but at the same time, not too entirely sure if you're able to buy new things for it. Why not? And apparently, according to Carl and Maestro, it had something to do with shipping and handling, and we'll just leave it at that. Oh, right. But
besides shipping and handling problems that you may or may not have to deal with a game that involves you living in the middle of the woods that I now just realized, we now head on over to those said high scores, folks, from Twin Galaxies. And the first high score that we have up comes from the high score known as Zoilia Dahlia, with their said high score of 101,040, a part of the iOS Android game of Sugar Crush. Or apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, Candy Crush Friends Saga. All right. Next high score that we have up comes from none other than Andrew Peter Me, with their said high score of 1 minute and 98 seconds during a Kulu Yaku hunt during the PS4 game of Monster Hunter World. Not bad. Not to mention was able to do it with the dual blades too. Very impressive. Next high score we have up after that comes from none other than Henrik Willman, with their said high score of 29.65 seconds, a part of the Nintendo World Championship NES game of Excite Bike. Next high score that we have up after that comes from none other than Sean Benson, with their said high score of 1,538,700, a part of the TV plug-and-play game of Yai R Kung Fu. Not bad. Next high score we have up after that comes from none other than Michael Sorka. Nice name, by the way, with their said high score of, and I need to get my glasses out for this one, 373,071,470, a part of the Sakurai Pinball game of Pinball Circus for the PC. Not bad. Next high score that we have up after that comes from none other than Mr. Fibble. Nice name, by the way, with their said high score of 3 minutes and 5 seconds, a part of the video game known as Tenku Stealth Assassins for the PlayStation. Never heard of it. Next high score after that comes from Firepower, with their said high score of 19,670, a part of the main One Life Challenge game of Pac-Man. Not bad. Next high score that we have up after that comes from Hariki Fanny Derskoghana, and hopefully we said that last name right, with their said high score of well over 217,900, a part of the Candy Crush Jelly Saga for the iOS. Next high score after that comes from none other than John Briscoe, with their said high score of 1 minute, 32.53 seconds, a part of the Sega Dreamcast game of Vanishing Point. Next high score that we have up after that comes from none other than Henrik Wildman, with their said high score of 7.18 seconds, a part of the Nintendo game of Legend of Zelda Deadeye. Not bad. Next high score that we have up after that comes from none other than Jason V91, with their said high score of 654,180, a part of the video game known as Digger. Nice. According to Carl and the Mice Show, we got a couple of more high scores coming in hot. And the next one we have up comes from none other than John M. Bristle, with their said high score of 97.270, a part of the video game of Forza Horizon Speed Zone C962 Speed Zone. And that's as fast as speed. Huh, didn't know that would count for a high score, but high speed, high score, sounds about right. Anyway, next high score we have up after that comes from none other than Andrew Peter Me with their said high score of 4.5. A part of the Nintendo Switch game of Super Mario Brothers. And its fastest team, or time. It said team up there, but it's time. And the last but certainly not least high score that we have up, even though Carl and the Mike Show said, you know what, screw it. We got two more after that. But the next one you have up comes from Pat Laraku with their said high score of 255,750. A part of the Atari 2600 game of Aquaventure. Next high score after that comes from Andrew Peter Me with their said high score of 34,101,189, a part of the PS5 game of Halloween Pinball. And now, finally, last but not least, from Pat LaCour with their said high score of 176,784, a part of the Atari 2600 game of Yar's Return. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool high scores that are still coming through the Twitterverse and websites as we speak for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Twitter page of One Man and website that are all named the same, but it's just as critically acclaimed, only known as Twin Galaxies. And check out those high scores, post a couple of them up for yourselves, and win some cool prizes for them. And like we say all the time around here, folks, it's a fair trade. It really is. And the high score that is now taken over the leaderboards for this month of, or the year of the fist, according to Carl and the Maestro, thank you for the correction, goes to none other than Michael Sorka with their said high score of 373,071,470, a part of the PC game of Zachariah Pinball Circus. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still coming through the Steam Machine via the cargo ship, cargo plane, or even subterranean train that is currently rumbling underneath your toes, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Steam Machine page, only known as store.steampower.com, and click ever so lightly on that upcoming button while trying to avoid a tiger knee to the face while hitting that Indy button. Then check out a whole bunch of cool games that I got a feeling it's gonna lead to a KO for your enjoyment. Well, it's not literally gonna knock you out, Carl and the Maestro, but I got a feeling it might knock your socks off, which is just as good. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back into that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the $64,000 question for this week, right after a word from our sponsors. So don't skip out on that bonus round just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Right, all you jail fighting champions out there, welcome back to the Indy Radio Arcade. And now it's time for us to go into another edition of the $64,000 question. But before we go into this week's $64,000 question, we go into last week's mega $961,000 question, where we asked you for upwards of, just to be fair, just about $1.8 million. Would you, on the same island as Bison, try to take him on in a shot-for-shot remake of the classic street fight or island fight from the movie Street Fighter? And several of you would sound off pretty good on this one by saying the following: how do you expect us to get to that island? Another person would say, do you have the outfit to do this? And the last person who would come screaming out of a cryo chamber going, yeah, kicking him in the chest and kicking off that epic fight would be able to get the job done with Chung-Li and others watching onward, all in costume too. Nice. So to that last person, congratulations, you just went home with well over $1.9 million and some change. But to the other two people, you technically could get a plane to fly out there, then a boat to make your way to that said island. And do I have the outfit? Yeah, I do. Technically. Technically I have the outfit. I have the one for Guile, but I don't have the one for Bison. We're working on it. But I got a feeling next time we have that challenge on the board, I might jump in the ring for it. Who knows? But besides the you wish scenario that Carl and the Maestro just said, we now go into this week's $64,000 question where we asked you, for upwards of well over $64,000, would you try to survive a week in the same prison that Jean-Claude Van Damme went to in the movie In Hell? And for those out there who can survive longer than a week, we'll tack on a bonus $64,000 each day you last after that said day. Granted, if you don't get put into that, what was it, the hole they said? The hole, right? The hole. If you don't get put in the hole, we'll definitely give you the bonus amount of money because I got a feeling the guards might take it. But before you answer that question at home, folks, you're going to have to wait another 2 weeks there, you prison fighters. Because Carl and the Maestro is currently rolling out the machines, which means we've got to bring the Indy Radio Arcade for this week and for this month to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of that 8-bit goodness we were able to give you for this week, we got you covered. Because you can catch this show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr pages still named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag Indie Radio Arcade Level 214. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, due to the severity of this challenge, they're tacking on a bonus $215,000 because that's what level we're on right now. I said 214, didn't I? Oops. You know what? Tack on 214 for my mistakes, too. And if you guys want to go ahead and figure out all the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this year of the fist, heading directly into the 28 days of greatness, like a great mistake I made that's going to give you a great boatload of cash, then you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube, Discord, and Twitter pages, still all named the same, only known as the Double Agent 0012. Before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the game show contestants out there for listening in to a very special month-ending fist-fighting edition of the Indy Radio Arcade. We would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys. And here's hoping your music gets featured during that challenge. Because I got a feeling that's what's going to keep them sane and keep them out of the Brokia fights. And yeah, Carl and the Maestro said it was the Brokia fights. Well, either way, we think your music can help. And why? Because we believe you guys. That's why. That's why. And speaking of believing in people's music to help them get ready for a fight, we would like to thank our musical guests, none other than Technoax, with their said song of Reprogrammed Reality that was featured during the intro for this week's edition of the show. And of course, for the song you're listening to right now of You Can't Dodge a Laser Chill Step Remix, that's currently being featured for the outro for this week's edition of the Indy Radio Arcade. Like always, Technoax, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And finally, last but certainly not least, We would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for coming out with all that sweet video game hits and clips, as well as high scores that we had a chance to mention during this said show. Like always, guys, keep them coming, because you never know what show might be coming around the corner next. Hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked and the creepy janitor giving us that look to Van Moose while trying to put on a fancy prison shirt to jump in for the challenge for what reason I know not, I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro, and for this Year of the Fist wrapping up for this show saying, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we would like to thank you for playing a very special 8-bit mid-month ending Kung Fu Fighting edition of the Indy Radio. We're finished, man. We're done. Game over, man. Game over. And good night, everybody.